All right, there we go. Just go ahead and turn your mic on. I think it got you on now, Matthew.
Can you hear me?
Got you loud and clear.
Awesome.
Sweet, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you taking some time out to talk to me.
Oh, for sure. My pleasure. It was good to see you on Saturday last week, or I guess this last Saturday.
Yeah, man, I had a lot of fun. I love going up north, and I haven't had the opportunity to train at many other gyms because I've been, so busy down here in Cruces. But that's why I'm glad to have you on, man, because you seem to have gone to quite a bit and experienced what New Mexico really has to offer as far as jiu-jitsu goes.
Yeah, I have. When I saw you guys, I think it was in October, I visited Aztec, the San Juan Brazilian Jiu Jitsu guys. I visited several gyms in Albuquerque I hadn't visited, and a few I had, but I hadn't really covered them. I went to Los Alamos, I went to Alamogordo, I went to Cruces. It was a great time. I'm looking forward to doing it again sometime soon.
That was all on one trip.
Uh, I took a week off work. I got around.
Nice, man. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. When I go out to Texas, I've been to 10th Planet, Austin. I train at a gym called Matagorda Mixed Martial Arts, used to be Matagorda Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, down in Bay City, Texas. I've trained like a month and a half there at this point collectively. I've been going there since I was like 5 months into Jiu Jitsu. They always take care of me.
That's very cool. One of the coolest things about being in this community is that you can travel and experience it, and most of the time, it's genuinely very good experiences. How long have you been into jiu-jitsu? When did you get started? Kind of how did you get into the sport?
I can give you a day at the school that I eventually joined, March 7th, 2019. So about 3 months and a week. Um, I got into it and I never looked back. I didn't have many friends. I was super, super out of shape. I'm still a pretty big guy, but I was barely tie my shoes out of shape. And I felt like I didn't really fit in anywhere. But like 2 days into jujitsu, everybody was so welcoming. And like I said, I mean, I was 5 weeks in when I visited my first travel gym out in Texas and right at home. It didn't matter that I was a new guy, just right at home. That's how this sport is. No matter where you go, pretty much, if there's any kind of population density, you're going to find a gym you can drop into and it can be family within a few days.
Absolutely. There's a whole community of people out there throughout the world that I didn't even know existed prior to getting into jiu-jitsu. I started in 2016 and didn't know. Like now, when I talk to people and they travel, it's almost a given that we look up a gym and see if there's a place that we can stop by and hit a drop in. So, it's awesome that we have that and that the community is so welcoming.
Yep, absolutely. You always have something in common with someone um, when you're doing this. And you don't even have to be able to really speak their language. You can have the most quiet guy on the mat or woman and share a round. And, you kind of speak each other's language, just knowing the etiquette and what you share on the mats.
Yeah, and even if there's language barriers, I mean, you can still get through it relatively easily. I remember early on when I was a white belt, I took a couple of classes and partnered up with a guy who had a hearing impairment, and we communicated effectively and were able to get some good training in.
Oh, I
Um,
believe it.
let's talk a little bit about the page that you run. You run the New Mexico BJJ grappling page, and I really really like it. What kind of moved you into doing that?
Well, Tasha Drugan, who I think is up with you next week,
Yeah.
um, mentioned, oh, man, I think it's been about a year and a half ago. We were in the middle of the COVID lockdown, and there were people who were itching to do something. They were itching to compete, do something. Arizona, Phoenix and Tucson, El Paso in Texas, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio. I think there was something in Amarillo. They all had events. And there's this dude who you guys probably know down in El Paso. He runs the Instagram page Jiu Jitsu Scene El Paso. Tasha mentioned to me that she wished there was something like that for New Mexico, and I told her, "We'll do it." She said, "I don't really know social media very well." I said, "I'll do it." You know, we found that far too many times there was some sort of event, whether it was a seminar, a competition, some sort of open mat, something happening on a Saturday or a Sunday or an odd weekday, and you'd bring it up to people later, and they'd say, "Oh man, I didn't even know that was happening until I saw the pictures." So I just decided I'll, initially, if you look back at the beginning of my page, all it was resharing event stuff. And then I got into wanting to cover local people and local gyms and really just have a spotlight that shines on these different gyms. So when I visited you guys, I was there for like 2 hours that day, I think. Just met Professor Spencer, I see Katy's listening. I met Katy, I met you, I met Jamie, I met a bunch of other people, and just, we can all connect, we can all network. And if something is happening, like this seminar, I mean, I remember I sent something to your page and I said, "Hey, just FYI, you can also pay this way. I know you guys are out of state, but just hit me up if you want to know the other like ways you can reserve and pay. I've connected with these guys. I expect this to happen. Just let me know." It's just one of those things we can do for each other. That's what got me into it.
That's really cool. And I know, I mean, it seems like we have like a lot of similar goals, because that was my same thing in starting this. This show was to bring a spotlight to people that I've met through this journey, that I've met in this community, who are some of the most, wonderful people. And I'm looking forward to speaking with Tasha, because I've been following her for several months, and she's been doing amazing on the scene out there.
Yeah, she has. She and I met her because she joined my gym. She trained at my gym for almost 2 years before she left and just started training somewhere else. But she's been a phenomenon since she dropped in with us. She gets out there because she found that, if it was one for one on a talent level, she couldn't really find good competition locally. Not a talent level, excuse me, rank. So rank, age, weight, she couldn't find good partners. So she did an event in, I think, Galveston, Texas. She's done a bunch in Vegas, down in El Paso. She does the Warlord events out in Odessa, Texas, or Midland. She's getting around. I think on the Masters scene, I think Tasha's got a long career and a lot of profile ahead of her. She's amazing. And I was happy to hook you guys up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's what this networking can bring, just bring, again, awareness of who's out there, different martial artists, and how we can help each other. I mean, the beauty of what's happening in the sport right now is that you can make a career out of this, if you play your cards right. And I know we've seen local people in the last few years really kind of pioneer and blaze those trails for other young martial artists to really aspire to, and I think Tasha's one of them. We're going to have hopefully Kamoy on here soon. He's going to be doing a seminar for us next month. He's out in Austin right now. I think he's actually in Thailand right now, but he's out training in Austin. And he kind of did that same thing, reached out there, jumped out to a bunch of different places, and started testing his jujitsu on the higher levels.
Yeah, absolutely. That's just what it takes. Some people have that in their blood. I'm a bit more of a casual with my, I'll say the actual burning of my body. I really like getting better. I like having something to focus on. I like the exercise. I like the social attitude. I've competed 4 times in the last 3 years. And, I don't really have that fire inside of me, but I watch people who do, and I am all for it. I don't think that they're, I don't think that they're that much different. It's just that they have the space and they have the fire in their lives to get better. My fire is really internal, and theirs is just to see how amazing they can get. I've watched Kimoy on several different events on Flow Grappling and YouTube. He's phenomenal. I'm excited for you. That'll be a great opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome, man. And you know what? The beauty of the sport is that, and the art is that everybody has a way to express themselves. I'm the same way. I'm in my mid-30s, and I'm not looking to jump into ADCC or to travel and compete, but I can still enjoy the sport either in a casual way, as a hobby, or even still be, mildly competitive, which I love, and it's all on my terms.
Oh, absolutely. It's just sometimes, we want to go do a competition. We want to be there with our teammates. We want to see if we can't, we can't get that shiny gold medal with them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I get it, but it doesn't mean that I have huge aspirations to be some kind of world champion. I just want to be proficient. I really want to know a lot. I don't necessarily need to be able to do everything, but I want to at least know how everything's done. I don't want to be able to watch anything and have it confuse me eventually.
Oh yeah. And that's not far away. I mean, you said 2019 is when you got started. So, is a goal is that a goal of yours, is to get a black belt, or how far do you want to get in the sport?
Man, that's a really interesting question that people don't usually ask. I don't know. Of course, I'd love to be a professor someday. But I just like coaching. I like sharing. I have co-run several kids classes before. With my buddy Nathan and a few others. I've started to run. I did my technique a few weeks ago. Independently ran technique for the first time in a couple of years. I
Nice.
really, really like coaching kids. So maybe eventually running a kids program, if I get to that point, would be nice at whichever gym I'm attending. I don't know. I don't have huge goals. Oh, excuse me. You know what? I'm full of it. This NMBJJ grappling thing. Eventually, I would love to have branded seminars, charity only. I don't want to make a penny off of this thing.
Oh wow.
Um, but I would really love to have exclusively local coaches and professors as instructors at seminars, like 2-3 hours at a time. We just get local people together. Maybe I could have people come down from up north, Taos, Santa Fe, Aztec, Farmington, down where you guys are. I could see if I couldn't get maybe Leonard from Alamogordo, somebody from your gym, maybe even you at some point, just us all to come together at some point and say, hey, we're doing donations only. It's a seminar. We're going to benefit this thing or that thing. And these benefits are going to be local. The talent's going to be local. That's what I would like to do at some point, and that's pretty attainable. So I,
Um,
I've been thinking about how to make it happen.
Man, that's awesome. And you know what? I'm 100% on board. I will help in any way I can. And that's a lot of, again, what we're doing, what you're doing with the Instagram page, what we're trying to do down here. Professor Spencer does amazing seminar work, and I would love kind of like what they're doing on at ADCC, but on a local scale. There's still so much good knowledge to be shared, even if it's not, Marcelo Garcia and the higher level guys. There's still so much that we can learn from the black belts that are around us.
Oh, 100%. You just think about Albuquerque's talent and what it's done in the last 20 years with the fight gyms around here. We have world-class grappling instruction available. Like not necessarily rock stars in jiu-jitsu by name. We don't, like you said, we don't have the Marcelo Garcia out here, but
That's
we
changing.
have, yeah, it is. We've
We
had people who have trained champions here.
we just saw Damian Maya, man, and that was a really highlight for me as in my martial arts journey. I was a fan of his before I even got into jiu-jitsu, but seeing and getting a seminar from a guy that's competed on that high level for that long was amazing, and it was in Albuquerque. I'm originally from Albuquerque, so I love the place. I love to visit. I just couldn't live there.
Well, I'm here, so
Yeah, you're in the thick of it, man, and I appreciate that. I commend you because that city, I've got a lot of family up there, and the city is a culture in itself.
that's a word for it. Um,
That's putting it nicely.
yeah, yeah, I agree. But you're right. And, for example, my gym opened about a month ago, but one of our coaches is Michelle Watterson, karate hottie from the UFC. Our professor is Professor Rafael de Freitas. He's
Yeah.
trained Holly and Michelle and John Jones and several Jackson Wink guys and that kind of thing. I'm really blessed to be exposed to that. Just saw the news a few days ago that Ground Assassins team in Albuquerque, who've been operating out of a gym. I've known them for a while. They've got a second location There's a dude named Damien who absolutely whooped me in a super fight in October at Grapple Fest. He's somebody I'm watching because he seems extraordinary. I mean, he's like 6'5",
Oh,
early 20s, absolute phenomenon. He just did ADCC trials, didn't quite cut it, but
no, it's great experience.
he hasn't been in that long, and he's got an excellent coach in Professor Jose Barazza and the people he's training with. I think Albuquerque can kick it on the map. We've got not just Albuquerque, excuse me, all of New Mexico. I mean, the altitude we have,
Right.
these pockets of population, the proximity of the South, like Alamogordo and Cruces to El Paso, which has an extraordinary amount of talent. I've been to Zen, I've been to City Wolves, I talked to some guys at 10th Planet down there and a few of the other gyms, Alliance, just a huge amount of talent available in this state. And I'm here for it.
Yeah. Oh, that's, it's so cool to see what's going on in this area and see New Mexico because, Greg Jackson did a great job bringing spotlight to New Mexico. And I've said it always that this state breeds fighters. The culture, the people, we love to scrap, we love to fight. And I think that in jiu-jitsu we can really take off as a premier place to come and train, and that's what I want people to really want to come to New Mexico and know, hey, there's very good grapplers out there. You can go out there and there's high level jiu-jitsu just like there is in California and in New York.
I mean, I think we have the potential. There are some whispers. I don't know if they're associated or not, but you may have seen the New Mexico Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League has launched. They haven't announced anything. They've been quite hush-hush, but they launched, and I assume it's going to be some sort of local competition series because we don't really get IBJJF. We don't, this fight to win that happened a couple of months ago was pretty unique for us.
I heard that was very good, though. I heard it was a really good event.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to miss people, but I've got to give a shout out to so many extraordinary people there. One of my teammates, Reece Kilbrew, big brown belt, he was, I think, second to the last, right before Professor Este Martinez, the Giant Slayer. But Reece Kilbrew took a win by armbar in the gi with another awesome brown belt from Santa Fe. We had Clem Narvaez from Invictus here in Albuquerque. He took a win. Rob Zamora from Impact in Albuquerque took a win. And a lot of people traveled. We got Jesse Tafoya, who I think is out of Jackson's Acoma, if I remember right.
Yeah.
He's got, I think next weekend, he's got a fight with Uriah Faber's new thing. Like the very first event they're throwing, that A1 combat thing.
Uh-huh.
Jesse's been around for a long time. He's been doing the local events for years, and he's got that profile. He's up there.
That's great.
So, yeah, it's not just people traveling in to train in New Mexico. It's this homegrown talent bringing the profile to us. I think it's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I think it's great for the sport, and it's only going to go up from here. I mean, the popularity of the sport is booming. People are seeing that it's effective and that it's useful. So it's amazing. Man, I want to thank you so much for coming on. Right now, around this time, I usually open up the mics. Jamie and Katy have been amazing with me this whole time, and I would love to bring them on and hear their thoughts. They can ask some questions. I'm going to open up the mics. But, again, one more time, thank you for what you're doing up there for all of the networking and the connectivity, because one of my overall goals in this sport is to get the community involved. There's a lot of sometimes tension between gyms, and I really want us to come together, start training, cross training, and helping each other as martial artists instead of feuding between gyms in the city or in the state.
Amen to that.
Good. We got Katy on. Thank you, Katy. Let me make sure Jamie's on.
Hey, Matthew, it's good to hear from you again.
Hi, Katy. Yeah, it was good to meet you down in October. Glad that you've been listening to us. I follow you guys. You take some great pictures, and I see. I think since I visited, you got your blue belt, so congratulations for that.
Thank you. And thank you for the photo comment. It's been such a blast being able to capture the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu around here. It's awesome. But I was going to ask you, so this is something that's kind of on my mind, and I think that you, as an individual who's traveled all over, will probably be able to answer this the best. My husband and I used to live in Texas, and we loved it. You know, everyone says move to Texas, it has a lot of opportunity. And in New Mexico, I know a lot of people have a feeling like there's not as much opportunity here. So, in your opinion, what do you think is kind of one of the hardest goals individuals face here in New Mexico when it comes to business? And what do you think is a good way to kind of overcome those issues?
Oh, that's a big question, Katy. I'm not,
Katie,
I'm not.
good stuff.
Yeah, I'm not extraordinarily well versed in New Mexico's like business climate. What was I going to say? Our financial climate. But I think a challenge we face here is that we don't really manufacture much. We don't mine a whole lot. We don't have big manufacturing plants. We don't produce a whole lot. We don't have ports. We don't have these big these big cargo hub airports. We don't have a lot of train freight. Like New Mexico is what we do is we support ourselves. So it's New Mexicans serving New Mexicans in some sort of service capacity, a small amount of tourism, you know, which unfortunately makes a big part of our local and our state economy. And that third thing, which I just completely spaced on, excuse me, we just don't have a ton of manufacturing here. It's a challenge. We can't produce much. So everything we do, what I was going to say, we outsource a lot. For example, myself, I have been an outsourcing employee in different business segments for like 15 years of my life. You know, I don't really serve much of New Mexico, but I've been working for these companies that serve the nation or serve specific markets in the nation. Like right now, all Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon, a little bit of the Southwest, Utah, Nevada, Arizona, in my work capacity. I don't really know what New Mexico can do. I really don't, unless we're going to keep being a place with kind of a low cost of living where we can contract out to service other places electronically. I don't really know what we can do. And sorry, I don't have big ideas there.
No, don't worry. I feel a little bad. I do a lot of interviews. And so I sometimes I'm like, oh man, these are like super interviewee questions. But I think that's a totally fair answer. Personally, just from opening my own small business and having a lot of other individuals for opening, I think that we do have kind of a struggle right now. And so I think it's great to have an honest and open opinion about it. I have a lot of faith though, being involved with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu scene around here and seeing Zia thrive and seeing a lot of other gyms in the state thrive has given me a lot of hope. So I'm excited to see kind of where it takes off and how things progress.
Glad to hear that positivity.
What's up, Jamie? Are you on? Yeah. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mathew for coming on. That was a really good talk, and it was nice to see you again in Albuquerque. It had been a long time since I seen you. Excuse me. But what you said earlier kind of really spoke to me about the welcoming culture of jiu-jitsu. One of the things I often think is jiu-jitsu has brought a lot of different things into my life, and it's made my life better in a lot of different ways. Like you talked about physical fitness, and that's one of the things that it's done for me. It's given me kind of a goal and a reason. It gives me another focus. Like, you know, I'll watch my weight because it's like, hey, you know, I want to be able to, you know, sign up for a competition. And I don't want to be competing in a weight category that's way outside my comfort zone. But it's one of those things that has brought a bunch of different positive things to my life. And I you know, physical fitness, something to be passionate about. But I think overall, and what made me think about what you said is of all the things that has brought into my life and continues to enrich my life with, one of the best things is the people it brings into your life.
I can agree with that. I mean, when I say I had a hard time making friends, you know, Mark can probably speak to this, but Albuquerque, I feel, has such a huge drinking culture. You know, we have all of these breweries, all of these bars, and everything that happens after like 8 p.m. is usually at one of those things. You know, you might go see a movie, you might go to a concert, whatever. But if you're just going to hang out with people, it's probably going to orbit around consuming alcohol. And I had that struggle. I didn't want to keep doing that. I didn't want to keep going out late. I didn't want to be the weird guy who wasn't drinking with everybody. So I
Yeah.
kind of withdrew for a while until I found this.
Yeah.
And I found there's stuff you could do in the daytime where you have just this rich feeling of camaraderie with people, you know, this cathartic experience with people, and it forges these really solid relationships. So, you know, that might be more meaningful to me than the fitness part. I mean, along with what you're saying, meeting these people and having something in common that opens the door to such richness in relationships it's priceless.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like, fitness is part of it, but it gives me a reason to keep coming back. And I know how to stay in shape. I've, I can do that a bunch of different ways, but it's the people on the mat along with you and your friends that keep you coming back there, because it's harder. It gets harder as you get older. I'm 49 years old, and there's days when I wake up or at the end of a day of 10 hours at work where I just want to go home, and call it a day. I don't feel like doing 2 hours of jujitsu, but I miss my friends, and I want to be part of it, and I want to learn stuff and get better, and it's as much therapy as it is exercise, as it is a social engagement.
Well, sorry, Mark, go ahead.
No, man, go for it. 100%.
I was going to say, it's not just physical activity. It's not just that friendship. Shortly after I started, right, I can get ideas about things, and I can want to sort of sum them up in phrases. And I articulated at one point shortly after I started jiu-jitsu, and I like to explain this to people who don't really understand. Brazilian jiu-jitsu is physically challenging, intellectually stimulating, and socially fulfilling.
Wow.
It makes it, these 3 points meet somewhere. If you had a big Venn diagram, the 3 circles of it, you've got all sorts of activities that might check 2 of the 3. But having something that is so physically challenging, but also intellectually stimulating, what else can you do? It's amazing.
And man, I'm going to quote you on that, and I'm going to steal it from you. I'm telling you right now. What was the last part? You said intellectually stimulating, physically
It's
challenging.
physically challenging in this order, Mark. This is important. It's physically challenging. That's the easiest of the 3. It's physically challenging, it's intellectually stimulating, and it's socially fulfilling.
Oh, wow.
That should be a t-shirt.
Yes, man, that's awesome. I'm a trainer, and trainers always steal from trainers, and we borrow, teachers and such. But I mean, I'm going to use that, and I'll quote you on that. I'll give you full credit. But that's an amazing way to put it.
Yeah, without all 3, I just don't think anything can do quite what this sport does. And I don't know anything like it. Not having the constant threat, I've done like maybe 10 hours of striking sports. I got a gym membership at a boxing gym like 12, 13 years ago when I was barely out of high school. That's cool. Whatever. I didn't feel like there was a huge sort of a feeling of the camaraderie. I keep not wanting to say brotherhood. I don't really know of a better word for it because so many of our partners are female. I don't want to exclude them with that phrase, but it's just this huge fraternity of people across bands of age. You guys probably have high school age kids who can drop in with Jamie, who said he's 49 years old. And there's no age gap. When you're on the mats like that, you're just together. You could have somebody who's in the middle of their 20s and has physical challenges, can have what you articulated. They can be hearing impaired. You can have issues speaking. You can have problems with English. You can be missing limbs, like our friends One Leg Greg and Brandito Burrito up here, who I've featured. All sorts of physical differences, and you can still speak in the same language. So you just have these checkpoints that make it such an amazing opportunity. I try to preach too much. And right now, obviously, I'm preaching to the choir, but I try to explain to my family, like, I don't care that your back hurts. Like, if you're aware of your own limits, if you get out there, you're going to have a really good time. You'll probably get into better shape. Be careful, but do it.
Absolutely, and I would echo those same sentiments. I mean, one of the biggest things is that people always say, "Well, let me get into shape first, and then I'll start jujitsu or I'll start martial arts." No, one of the cliches is the best time to start jujitsu is 10 years ago, and the second best time is today. And I mean that's 100% true because I see it with every new person who walks in and loves it and sees the benefits. They all echo the same sentiments. You know.
Man, I got to tell you guys. So my first day doing anything jujitsu wasn't March 7th, 2019. It was actually the summer before that. And I had a friend who I recently saw. He was at our seminar with us, who suggested that I get into jujitsu. I was super out of shape. He and I were talking. We hated each other in high school. This kid and I had been going to school with each other since we were 11 years old. But he suggested at one point, do jujitsu. And I said, I don't know about that. He invited me to come over to his place. He had some mats. He used to be a coach somewhere. We put down mats in his garage. All we did, he had me do some line drills. So I was just trying to figure out how to do hip escapes. Like every other first day person, you have no idea what the coach actually wants, but you're trying to do what they're saying. I did some hip escapes. We probably attempted some inversion stuff. And we did some mount escape. And he challenged me, he said, get me off of you. And he takes mount, and I could not get this dude who was smaller and weaker and much shorter than I am, like, for the life of me. Every time I tried to push this guy off, all he does is move. He moves somewhere. That planted this seed in my brain that made me so curious and so obsessed with figuring it out. I didn't start for another, probably 9 months. It may have been a little bit shorter than that. But I had these, this is going to be a little gross, but they've been long gone for years now. I had plantar warts on the bottom of my feet, multiple, that I got, I think, from truck stop bathrooms when I was a truck driver. I obsessively burned plantar warts off of the bottom of my feet with salicylic acid wax and treatments and freeze treatments myself. Until those things were completely gone, I wouldn't let myself take a trial class. But for several months, I was just burning warts off my feet just so I could figure out how this dude was able to mount so well and why I couldn't mount him and stay on top. That is that burning, I don't know, that cinder that it put in my brain. I couldn't drop it. And it's there every single day. It's kind of a gross story just because plantar warts on my feet, but I knew, I'm not going to go to a gym with my feet wrapped in tape. I'm not going to go to a gym wearing socks. Like, I'm not going to walk in and pretend that these things aren't there. So I got rid of them.
That was awesome. And, we said it the other day is that, jiu-jitsu becomes a mirror for yourself, and it doesn't force you to change them. You want to change them so that you can not just become a better, but you can also just, continue to practice this art, which is so fulfilling. I know when I got into this, I was, for my frame, 5'7", 5'8" on my best day, depending on what convenience store I'm walking out of. I was over 230 pounds, and I had gotten a DUI. I was drinking, like you talked about, the drinking culture in Albuquerque and in New Mexico. New Mexico has one of the worst DUI, rates in the country. The culture that we are part of, that we grow up in, and just all of the systemic stuff that we're dealing with, jiu-jitsu was an avenue for me to change all that. And it didn't happen like I'm writing shit on my mirror and using affirmations and buying motivational books. No, I just fell in love with the sport and wanted to get better at it. And I think that's what the beauty of it is.
Yeah, you can't do it if you keep those habits. For me, it's always been binge eating. I mean, I had the warts on my feet, but that was just one of those things. Like, if people don't see the bottom of my feet, they're never going to notice. It doesn't matter. I wear sandals in the shower, like whatever. But the binge eating thing, I was over 365 pounds when I started. Like, I couldn't sit up in a butterfly guard because my gut was too big. But I wanted to. And I knew every time I overate, if I went and trained that day, I don't care if I ate too much at 8 in the morning. If I went and trained at 5, I was going to feel like garbage. It was going to be hard to do it. I was going to get nauseous. That's what this does. To me, it was more important to do that. Right now, I've kind of hit a plateau, unfortunately, because my game works for me well enough, pressure passing and being explosive at the right times, that I don't have that urgency anymore. I've kind of hit a stall, and I haven't backslid, but I've hit a stall. I'm trying to find that fire again to make the next thing work. Like, I want to be compact. I mean, I remember visiting your gym, and seeing Jamie at your gym, that's like the most intimidating body type for me as a jiu-jitsu player, because I had him pegged as somebody with like an insane guard game who I couldn't get past. I couldn't pressure past this guy because he just regarded. I can't remember if I ever passed him, but I remember we were playing some of that, people sitting on the mat and guarding up, and you're just trying to pass. And if you pass, you get to sit on the mat, that kind of game, doing bases. But, I see people like that. I want to be like that. So I'm trying to find that fire to take the next step, to come to the next phase of my physical fitness and play a different game.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember. So when I first met Professor Spencer, it was probably a few months after my DUI, but I think I got it in June. At the end of June, by September, October of that year, I was in Long Beach competing as a white belt in my first tournament, and it was SJJIF World, Fake Worlds they call it. But I had to cut to make under 200 pounds, and it was so hard for me to make that cut. And I saw with every competition, again, I'm not one who's trying to be at ADCC, but with every competition, I saw my baseline weight drop and get lower and lower, and just over the years, I guarantee you, you hit those plateaus, but like they always say, just keep training, and you're gonna get the breakthrough. It's always there. You just got to keep going.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm sure something will click again.
Absolutely, man. So I want to thank you so much for those of you who tuned in, for who participated. Mathew, once again, up in Albuquerque, running the New Mexico BJJ grappling page, and out there making connections. I love it, man. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. Thank you for stepping on the mat with me tonight. And I hope to really see you soon again.
I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Katy and Jamie, for speaking up here and sharing and challenging.
Thanks again, Matthew. I look forward to seeing you again sometime, either up in Albuquerque or down in Las Cruces. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend. Peace. We'll see you soon.
Take care, y'all.
Take care, everybody.